I would not be happy if, for example, we lost all our cathedrals and our beautiful parish churches. Find that I like to live in a culturally Christian country. If I had to choose between Christianity and Islam, I choose Christianity every single time. I mean, it seems to me to be a fundamentally decent religion.
But there's interviews he's done a few months ago where he's talking about how horrible Christian theology is and the doctrine of original sin. And
I've heard him say before that like to teach a child to believe in Christianity is wicked. I do think they're starting to realize that in an Islamic dominated culture, they wouldn't be free to do what they do. You know, they're free to do what they do in a Christian culture.
Welcome to the Land in the Bible podcast. We're going to continue today with another reaction video. We're kind of on this kick of, I don't know, it's like reacting to either atheists or ex-atheists that think Christian culture is a good way to go, even if you're an atheist. So I'm here today with Jameson Creel. How you doing, Jameson?
Doing good.
Awesome. Okay, so this clip you sent to me, and I was like, I hadn't seen it yet. I was checking it out. I think this is actually from like Easter, and it's Richard Dawkins, on something.
You know, I think it's leading Britain's. I think LBC is leading Britain's conversation, maybe. So it's sort of a big. I think it's mostly like a morning radio show, but it's obviously television as well. But anyway, it's a British thing.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So anyway, on that one, he was kind of talking about the fact that he would consider himself culturally Christian. And I was like kind of shocked by that because I've heard him on other shows basically dogging Christianity and just being like, these are awful things to believe. But it was more theological things that he was kind of hating on than it was.
Yeah. It's
aspect.
shocking. It's shocking if you understand who Dawkins is. He's the guy that wrote The God Delusion. I don't think he was the most intellectually effective of the quote unquote new atheists, which are really old ideas. But you've got guys like Hitchens, I think, was way smarter than him. I think Sam Harris is a more effective debater. Dawkins was like the mean, angry, crazy uncle of the movement, I guess. But viscerally, just you listen to him speak, and the hatred of like God and Christianity was so just like, rah, And I really do think these guys, and I don't want to give away the end from the beginning, but let's just go back. Let's not go what he thinks. Let's just say what he was. He was the banner carrier for "We Hate God" atheism. There's all these clips of him screaming and yelling like, you find a Christian and mock them. If they believe in this stupid stuff like virgin birth and whatever, you make fun of them. Good, stupid, just crazy dude. And he's still got some of that in there, but not the guy that you think of as being like, oh, what a gentleman that, because there are some atheists that I think I could have lunch with and, it'd be relatively pleasant. We could have a conversation. This guy, not so much typically. I don't know. It might be at least entertaining, I suppose. But I don't think he's ever very effective as an atheist because he's so angry that I didn't think he was persuasive. But he's the last person I thought would say the stuff you're going to hear on here. Yeah, he reverted too, but I don't know. I guess just
he says some not so nice stuff about Christians too. But I was shocked. I was definitely shocked, and I'm with you. I mean, I'd love to sit down, and if people believe differently or people who believe the same, but I love to sit around and talk about this stuff. And I think he's going more that route. He won't debate certain people and that kind of thing. But I've seen him have more tempered conversations more recently on things I've seen. So on this one, it's not that long. It's only about 8 minutes. But I figured I'll play it, and then whenever you feel like you want me to stop it, just kind of let me know. We'll pause it, comment,
or if you want to, if something you think's worth, just
okay,
whatever. We'll just let her go and see what happens.
Yep. we'll let it rip and see where we go. All right.
Professor Dawkins, it's very good to have you join us to discuss whether it matters that Christianity is playing a diminishing role in national life. Welcome to LBC.
Thank you.
And what would be your Easter message? I mean, I've said a few things. What would you tell the nation?
Well, I must say I was slightly horrified to hear that Ramadan is being promoted instead. I do think that we are culturally a Christian country. I call myself a cultural Christian. I'm not a believer, but there's a distinction between being a believing Christian and being a cultural Christian. And so, I love hymns and Christmas carols and...
Pause. Just go ahead and pause. Can we pause already?
Okay. That was already shocking, right?
Yeah, it's like, what just happened? Just for him to say that sentence, it's like, huh?
I love hymns and Christmas carols. I'm a cultural Christian. He keeps going.
Yeah.
But
it's already bizarro to me. And the fact that they want to talk about the decline of Christianity in Britain, which is true. If you look at any metric, attendance per Sunday or people who claim belief, and on and on and on, it is clear that Christianity is declining. Also, he's already commenting on the fact that, on the BBC and on certain media outlets where, we've decided to talk more about Ramadan than Easter right now. And so that's a big point of discussion. And, that's been a decision that has been made at a certain cultural level, which was that, well, it's bigoted to promote Christianity because that's sort of the dominant view, but we really should celebrate, Buddhism and Islam and other cultures, holidays and events. So on Easter in England, they're pushing Ramadan more than Easter. And so he's really bothered by that. That's another thing. And, that was something we talked about in the Ayan Hirsi Ali bit, which was that, the Europeans really do perceive a clash of culture that we don't perceive in America. And so he's like, I don't like this. This is something that I'm not okay with, that, I feel like there's whether it's fair or not, a sense of invasion, so I think what you're seeing from him, frankly, I don't know that he's turned so much towards Christianity as he's reacting strongly against the growth of the influence of Islam in England, frankly. So anyway, carry on. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think that's one of the themes that you're seeing from some of the stuff. And it was like straight out of the gate. He immediately led with that.
Yeah.
So let's see what else. Yeah.
I sort of feel at home in the Christian ethos. I feel that we are a Christian country in that sense. It's true that statistically the number of people who actually believe in Christianity is going down, and I'm happy with that. But I would not be happy if, for example, we lost all our cathedrals and our beautiful parish churches. So I count myself a cultural Christian. I think it would matter.
So this is it's just strange. Because I feel like I'm a logical person that I play things out to its end. And it's like, well, I don't understand how you can be like, I think it's good that more people don't believe it, but I don't want to get rid of all of it. I just want it to not be the majority view, or I just want most of people to kind of realize it's stupid. But then I want all the benefits of it. I just don't want you to believe it. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't.
No,
do you understand that?
And I guess I understand feeling some sort of warm teddy bear, fuzzy feeling towards the familiar, like, oh, I grew up in England and they sang hymns at Christmas and decorated a certain way, and people sang, out of the churches were like this. And so you just have a warm sort of fuzzy thought regarding that aesthetic and that feeling, though you don't believe in any of it. But it is like inconsistent, right? It's like, well, if you think that this thing leads to beauty and things that, I really, I think you can pursue both truth and beauty to God, So if you think it leads, it's beautiful. You keep following that. I don't know. I would think it would lead somewhere, but probably he doesn't think that too much. He's just like, oh, I like it. And, the call to prayer is annoying to me. So can we just, stick with Christmas bells, I suppose.
Yeah. I do think that it's not like this with every argument from this kind of new atheist camp, but that does seem very trivial in a lot of ways. And, postmodern too, it's just kind of like a personal thing. It's not thinking about the whole. It's like, I don't like it. So, we should get rid of it.
Well, I do think,
I don't know.
I do think they're starting to realize that in an Islamic dominated culture, they wouldn't be free to do what they do. They're free to do what they do in a Christian culture.
I've heard that come up a lot more. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's true.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. I mean, that is, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, well, now all of a sudden, the result of it, at least there, is that clash of culture that you were talking about. And so now that's coming with real consequences for people.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't had blasphemy laws in the West in hundreds of years, since Queen Elizabeth or before Elizabeth, go back to, Bloody Mary or something. So 1600s, 400 or 500 years, I guess, since England or America, again, had blasphemy laws. But now we kind of do. There's things you can't say and you'll get in a lot of trouble. And the Islamic world certainly has them. You look at a guy like Salman Rushdie, who writes a book that, from their perspective, clearly blasphemes Muhammad. And what's the result is this guy, has a bounty on his head, eventually gets stabbed, So you can't be Richard Dawkins in the Arab world, the Muslim world, and run around being like, this whole God thing is stupid. And Muhammad is, here's why that's a bad idea. And the Quran is, the amount of abuse that as Christians we've tolerated regarding Jesus and the Bible and art. There's no way the Arab world, the Muslim world will tolerate, what we have tolerated and accepted. So I think they're starting to wake up, to understanding that it was nice to live with these Christians. Sorry, I got attacked by a mosquito.
Yeah. Okay. I think in the previous we did with Ion's video, she said that she commented on that, in fact, and said the agree to disagree is a very Christian thing.
Yeah, 100%. So, that's 100% true.
We'll keep going.
If we substituted any alternative religion, that would be truly dreadful.
Well, which brings me to my supplementary point, which is that, as we know, church attendance is plummeting, but the erection of mosques across Europe, I think 6,000 are under construction, and there are many more, are being planned. So do you regard that as a problem? Do you think that matters?
Yes, I do, really. I have to choose my words carefully. If I had to choose between Christianity and Islam, I choose Christianity every single time. It seems to me to be a fundamentally decent religion.
Okay. Because there's clips of him. There's clips of him talking about how bad it is. I'm like, obviously we can tell what's changed. He's positioning it.
He's scared
against Islam. He's scared. That's the motivation, it seems.
Yeah.
There's interviews he's done a few months ago where he's talking about how horrible Christian theology is and the doctrine of original sin. And it's just like, and then the atheist co-host, it's Alex O'Connor, is like going, are you sure? Like, can't you see how original sin would, like, when none of us live up, we all have failures as humans. He's just trying to get him to understand it philosophically. He's like, we don't even live up to our own standards, stuff that you and I even talk about on this podcast. He's just saying we set things for ourselves, and we don't, as humans, we can never attain the best version of what we're trying to do in our own ideal. You can't see how that someone would even think that, even if it's not, from God, that people could still think this. And he's like, no, I can't believe you'd even waste time thinking about that. It's like, basically, he's like, I feel sorry for you that you had to go to seminary.
Well, no, I've heard him say before that. I've heard him say before that, like, to teach a child to believe in Christianity is wicked. Like it's evil, it's wicked to teach your child they should believe in Christianity. It's like, I've heard him say that before, which, by the way, is a really stupid thing to say, because if there's no God, there is no wicked. Like the idea that there is wickedness, that there is like truly capital E evil. There is no philosophical foundation for saying that if there's not a God who's, in charge of the morality. So it's actually an inherently stupid statement, but he's on the record saying stuff like that, that we should stop teaching all this religion and we should just have this, again, some sort of atheistic utopia. And anyway, he's figured out that that's not going to happen. So now he's like, I kind of like living under the Christians. They were, so
it's a decent
yeah.
religion.
Would you say it's a fundamentally decent religion? Is that what he says?
Yeah, I can go back and let's play. Let's see what he says.
Do you regard that as a problem? Do you think that matters?
Yes, I do, really. I mean, I don't. I have to choose my words carefully. I mean, if I had to choose between Christianity and Islam, I choose Christianity every single time. I mean, it seems to me to be a fundamentally decent religion.
A fundamentally decent religion.
It's
I'm gonna make that my ringtone.
It's a fundamentally decent religion. I mean, I hope it's actually accurate in the truth, but it's funny that he'll even get that far with it, given the stuff he's said in the past. Now, the context, because this, somebody's watching this, years down the road, is, we're in the height of the Israel-Gaza war, and there's been massive protests in London and throughout England, anti-British, anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, pro-Islam, anti-Christian, in truly spectacular numbers, like huge numbers of people, supporting the Islamic faith and the pro-Gazan, position, which is, if you whatever you think about Gaza is irrelevant. But to see that many people gathered, like on London Bridge or something like that were, mostly Muslims, and being really aggressive about pushing their agenda, I think has scared a lot of guys in his category. They're thinking, where does this go from here? So that's the context. That's why that's what shook him in the last couple of months, I'm sure.
Yeah. We'll keep playing and see what he says.
A fundamentally decent religion, in a way that I think Islam is not.
I think you're going to have to explain why you say that, Professor Dawkins. Why is Islam fundamentally not decent like Christianity?
Yes, I mean, the way women are treated. I mean, Christianity is not great about that. It's had its problems with female vicars and female bishops and things. But there's an active hostility to women, which is promoted, I think, by the holy books of Islam. I'm not talking about individual Muslims, who, of course, are quite different. But the doctrines of Islam, the Hadith and the Quran, is fundamentally hostile to women, hostile to gays, and I find that I like to live in a culturally Christian country, although I do not believe a single word of the Christian faith.
Pause.
Let it just sink in. Well, and the thing is, in that one is, you're listening to, I mean, one of the faces of New Atheism, right? And
probably the most prominent.
Be charitable towards. Yeah, I mean, now Sam Harris is pretty. He's pretty prominent as well.
Yeah.
But just being charitable towards the way Christians treat homosexuals and women. Like normally those, like he's basically saying like he's not attacking that at all. Normally you would hear the opposite. So I don't know.
No,
I just find
and his thing about fundamentally decent religion, what he was saying is that Christians on their best of days, and we have bad days, but on our best of days, we do treat our opponents and I don't know if opponent is exactly the right word. I don't want to use the word enemy, but people that believe differently than us and want to promote their worldview, which we think's anti-Christ or Christian. So we would oppose their view, not the humans. I'm certainly in opposition to Islam belief system. I'm certainly in opposition to Western secularism as a belief system. And I'm a pretty traditional Christian. So, I believe traditional Christian things about sex and gender and family and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to treat people with different views than me the way I think Jesus would treat them, which means with love and respect and kindness, while still gently pushing forward the truth. That's what I hope to embody. The Bible says Jesus was full of truth and grace. And that's what I hope I embody. I hope I embody truth and grace. I don't want to be ugly and mean to people and say nasty things to them and, win an argument by embarrassing them, right? None of that kind of stuff. I want to just gracefully present the truth, maybe gently insistent. I'm not going to back down when, if somebody pushes something I think is not true. But I certainly don't believe, which some members of the Muslim community believe. And just, as he says, that's not everybody. There's a huge percentage of the Muslim population that would never engage in violence over these kind of things. But there are those who would, if I were to push too hard at Muhammad or the Quran, it can lead to violence. I mean, we've seen that. And that's not generally something that comes out of the Christian world. And so I think he's just reacting to what he's seeing, happen in Europe and you see him say, like, I have to choose my words carefully. Like there's a certain amount of like fear, reticence. If I say the wrong thing, I might get in trouble here, and that's a world that we have created, because there are things that we kind of can't say right now. And some of that has to do with you insult the wrong people and you can get in trouble. So, there's that as well.
Yeah. All right. I'll keep playing.
Just for balance, should we say something about fundamentalist Christians who, we can see abortion rights, reproductive rights being rolled back in Republican states in America. So Christianity is still not without its problems when it comes to women and their rights.
Well, you didn't ask me about Christianity in America. That's a different matter entirely.
Okay. There you go. There it was.
Well, it's just because you have to do it. It's like, just so nobody will think I'm a bigot, let me, smack everybody real quick. And it's just what you got to do these days. Just this stupid game that we have to play in order to say something, in order to feel fair, let me go ahead and, just to be fair, let's talk about, whatever. Just what you got to do.
All right, I'll keep going. American conservatives are always an easy target.
Well, they made they made their whatever, whoever's in charge of their media, like, let's be sure we smack everybody if you smack somebody. So, okay, we got that done. We can move on.
All right.
All right. Well, I'm sure we got some fundamentalist Christians here too, but not as public.
Well, insofar as fundamentalist Christians oppose evolution and think that the world was created 6,000 years ago, I mean, that is pernicious nonsense.
That's such a atheist caricature, the fundamentalist Christian thing, and then that's a straw man.
Yeah, okay, but let's be honest. There are young Earth creationists. Tons of them. Like, how's it bad to believe the Earth is 6,000 years old? Like, what is the negative impact of, like, I think we have a young Earth? Okay. How's it, who cares? About what I think happened 6,000 years ago or 6 billion years ago.
Well, I think he's probably going to tie that to other views. because they do this. It's like they say, you know, I had someone ask me one time, I was like, well, I'm a Christian. They said, well, you're not an evangelical, are you? And I said, well, what do you mean by that? Like, do you mean like, are you asking me if I'm a fundamentalist? Like, and then what do you mean by fundamentalist? Like, I think
I'm sorry, what does even that mean? Nobody knows these things mean.
I know. Well, did you mean that I believe the Bible is true? Or do you mean that I believe the Bible is literal? Or do you mean that I believe that every single thing in the Bible is 100% literal? Or do you mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's what he's kind of getting at, is he's saying that's probably what he means by that. But when he, like, you just say fundamentalist, then that means you believe in literal everything.
You're one of the idiots. And, you know, you believe something that's so stupid, now I can dismiss you because you think the earth is only 6,000 years old. Well, he believes that nothing created the world. So should I be like, do you think nothing made everything we see? Ha ha ha, you fool. Like, we could all play that game of, yeah, and I've had people, you know, do it to me before. And, you know, they're like, are you a denier? You know, like regarding climate. So it's like, as soon as you say, I don't think there is catastrophic man-made global warming. If I don't believe in that, then I'm just like not worth talking to. I'm a fool, you know, like they put the,
well, I think everyone's got their box. Yeah. So if you say you're a Christian, for people that aren't, everyone's got a box that they then move you into. Well, that means you believe this. And it's usually something bad. Which is kind of an interesting.
A fundamentalist, which again, what does that even mean? I believe the Bible is fundamentally true. I think that, you know, do you mean it's literal? I think the literal parts are literal and the figurative parts are figurative, you know, like, I think it means exactly what it says, you know, it means clearly, you know, God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills does not mean that there is literally somewhere on earth, you know, a piece of land that has 1,000 hills and there's cows on it that belong to God, you know. That's a figurative statement. So I think the literal parts are literal, the figurative parts. Does that make me a fundamentalist? I don't even know the best definition of the word. You know, evangelical. I believe we should evangelize. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't know either.
That's a broader term that I don't even know what that means anymore either. I don't know technically what it means to be an evangelical or a fundamentalist. So I just say, like, when people say that to me, I say, what do you mean by that? That's usually what I say. I'm like,
yeah.
And then I'll tell you whether or not
I might or might not be both, depending on the definition.
Right.
You know, I don't know how you're defining these things.
That's kind of my point.
So anyway, this is a throwaway comment. They just need somebody to make fun of.
Right.
Right. Well, so I think I see where you come from. I like the phrase, you're a cultural Christian. I think I'm a bit more than a cultural Christian, although, you know, it does, my belief waxes and wanes. Would it be a good thing or a bad thing if we became a less Christian country? And just on the, you know, the foundation of this nation, with the king being the head of church and state, do you think it provides a solid foundation that we would lose something if, let's say, there was a Muslim majority?
Well, yes. I think the king, when he was Prince of Wales, was actually rather sympathetic towards Islam, and one of the problems I felt. No, I think it would be a terrible thing. And insofar as Christianity can be seen as a bulwark against Islam, I think it's a very good thing. I mean, in Africa, for example, where you have missionaries of both faiths operating, I'm on Team Christian side as far as that's concerned.
So now he's pro-missionary.
Yeah. Well, he's like,
this is bizarro world. This is bizarro world.
Okay, so I guess he's thinking
send him
for
a
the
support letter.
Yeah, we should. So, like, for the Africans, I guess he's thinking, well, they already have their tribal religions. So they're already, you know, believing crazy God stuff. And then they're being offered to convert to either Christianity or Islam. Given those three options, you know, tribal religions, sort of voodoo-y animism stuff, or Christianity or Islam, I guess Christianity is the best of the options. So go missionaries, which is, again, it's all
I'm on
craziness.
Team Christian.
And I never thought we'd pick him up in the draft.
Dude, that's so funny. It's like, yeah, we make those jokes at work all the time. They're like, I'll give you for Richard Dawkins, I'll give you let's see, who do we want off our team with a couple future first round picks,
Yeah.
a couple pick swaps. All right.
Yep.
I'll keep playing.
It's interesting because I sort of thought that you would be more of a Hitchinite, God is not great advocate. But it's interesting to me that you see the value and the force for good of the United Kingdom having a Christian foundation.
Yes, but I must emphasize that I think that the things that Christians believe are actually nonsense. I mean, I think that when you say you waver, I wanted to ask you, do you actually believe that Jesus had a virgin for a mother? Do you actually believe he rose from the dead? I suspect
well,
you probably
weirdly,
don't.
since you ask, Richard, if I may, because I was at New College when I think, are you still a Don at New College? Yes.
Well, I'm retired.
You're retired,
yes,
but you don't look anyway. Weirdly, I was just 3 weeks ago at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, where the Christians believe that Christ was crucified, or there was the tomb, or the Gethsemane was just there, and Golgotha was there. And I have to admit that there is a real force. I mean, it feels like the fulcrum of three world religions. It really does. And Christianity is palpable there. The place pulses with Christianity. I don't know whether it made me believe the Bible anymore, but I certainly felt that Jesus was a historical figure. Yes, I did believe that.
Well,
Am I wrong to think that?
No. I mean, that's quite different. But do you believe that his mother was a virgin?
Well, I mean, maybe that was a mistranslation of. Well, that's biologically impossible, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yes.
So pause.
That's always pause. Yeah, it's paused. Well, he's going to talk about the resurrection too in a second, so I figured we could pause here.
Yeah, but I hate this worldview in that the whole idea that, like, well, if you believe anything that we can't totally explain with science, and you're stupid. Well, yeah, but you believe. Anyone who has their worldview, a materialist worldview, believes that all the matter in the universe sprung from nothing into being in a moment, in an explosion, that then created a perfectly fine-tuned universe. And we can go on, okay. Yeah. So I've even heard, one of the guys on their team, be honest and say, well, just give us one miracle and then we'll explain the rest. Why is that more logical than a virgin birth, or just believing that there is an all-powerful God that can interrupt periodically when he wants to? So, like, I don't understand the a priori just be like, oh, you're so stupid if you believe in a virgin birth. Why? I believe there's a God. I believe there's an entity that does interact sometimes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like a tactic. It's like the attack these like beliefs that seem ridiculous because we kind of take them for granted. We celebrate that stuff at Christmas, and it's like the virgin birth, and we don't. It's just kind of baked into our culture. Like, you don't even realize. You're like, oh wait, I guess I do believe something that's miraculous.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy, but
the
we
virgin
think God
birth
interrupted.
and Easter, yeah. Yeah, that's the point. So I think that if the way that I process this, when you're faced with someone that like really presses you on something, is that no, I believe God can do that. Like you're talking to someone who believes in that there's a God and that we believe in spiritual things. We believe that there's a spiritual realm where stuff happens. There's powers and principalities and all these things. Like most Christians I would say, believe in that. Like, why would we not believe that God can do stuff? We believe in miracles. We believe miracles happen. So it's not so much like, yeah, I don't know anyone that's ever given birth as a virgin, but it doesn't mean that I don't believe it can't happen. Yeah.
I'm not even happy with the term supernatural, because I think God in the spirit realm is a part of our natural order. You know, it's just that we don't always perceive its activity. You know, there are times when crazy things happen and you're like, whoa, you know, that was miraculous. That was God speaking. That was, you know, that I can't explain that. And I think the vast majority of humans, if they're honest, have had those moments where they know that something happened they can't explain. You know, that you know, something was peeking through, you know. I certainly have in my life. So, yeah, I mean, I believe that Jesus was born of a virgin and died on a cross and came back to life. I'll take the whole boatload of stuff. I'll take, you know, Moses parting the Red Sea, and, you know, just throw it all in there. You know, why do we have to make accommodation to like make it make sense?
Because of, I mean, that's just our world, you know, that aggressive skepticism. I don't think there's anything wrong with the skepticism, and like, you know, but we feel the need to accommodate, because there was I heard someone say recently that our world has changed. The philosophical perspective on things has changed. And it used to be, it's true because it's in the Bible, and now it's in the Bible because it's true. It's a subtle shift, but it's true. It's in the Bible, and that makes it true. That used to be the way it was. Yeah. And now there are things that are true, and the Bible just tells you about them because they are true. Do you know what I'm saying? So that is a little bit of where we are with this, you know, even the stuff that we make. It's like, no, look at this true thing. See how the Bible represents it. You know, it's like, we find ourselves constantly trying to do that. We don't just accept the text and just, you know, we feel a need to justify it. Like, hey, look, here's Nebuchadnezzar outside the Bible. He really existed, or, you know, whatever. And we do believe it's historically some of that's
credible.
A healthy process, though, you know.
Sure.
I mean, I think I find that this conversation, like we were doing in a previous video, we're talking about it, but there's things that you can never really, you're not going to prove your way into Christian faith. There are things that we're supposed to read the text to get spiritual meaning and application. And yes, there's history in there, and that's important to know and to get the context of, but they are theological, spiritual texts, you know? Yeah. Yes, there is history, and yes, there is all these other types of literature throughout the whole biblical corpus that we should take into consideration. But like, primarily these things are supposed to provide some type of meaning and application and understanding. We don't need to scrutinize them to that level. I mean, I think it's fun to do that. I think it's fun to go dig in there and see like, oh my gosh, look how cool this is, because I want to understand that world better. But that's the real purpose there.
What I do think is good, you know, kind of to his point at a certain level, is that Christianity does tolerate and accept a far, far greater level of criticism and frankly ridicule than like Islam accepts. And because of that, we've been through a very rigorous, very difficult, about 150-year process now of just being assaulted by, you know, textual critics and historical critics and scientific critics that have just wailed away at Christianity. And I think what we're seeing now is that tide is receding, because, you know, these textual critics have criticized the Bible, and we keep digging up rocks that prove them wrong, you know, that have inscriptions and say, you know, whatever the science I think the science is completely in our favor now. You know, contrary to what this guy's going to say. I mean, I feel like the Big Bang and the fine tuning and what we're finding out about genetics, I think it's so far in our favor now. So I feel like that tide is receding, and we've survived all of that. whereas Islam has never been subject to it. And, I think they're in for a very rude awakening, as they get subjected now in the West to what the Bible, has been subjected to. And we survived it. Again, I think we're on the other side of it and we're stronger for it. Another thing
we
is
were
like
promised that too. I will say, just to piggyback on what you're saying, is we were promised that we would be ridiculed for belief. That's what Jesus said, and that's what Paul said, and that's what Paul says too. He's just like, it's foolishness.
That's what he's saying.
So anyway,
it's all pernicious, whatever he says.
Yeah.
Carry on.
All right, let's keep going.
Well, I used to make a joke that most second children are virgin births because you can know. Anyway, we don't want to go into that.
Yes.
But yes, you know what I'm saying.
She's just saying, she's making a joke. Most second children are virgin births because I guess you don't ever want to have sex again after having a child. I don't know.
God knows.
Because
I have no idea.
Not fun. I don't know.
Maybe it's
a
British joke that we can't understand.
It's quite possible. All right, I'm gonna keep going.
Are you pleased that Rishi Sunak talked about Christian values in his? He said Christian values are British values in his Easter message. You seem to be on the same page.
Yes, I didn't hear that, but
that's what he said.
Yes, I suppose so. But I don't want to be misunderstood. I mean, I do think it's nonsense. But the Christian belief, today is Easter, and of course I don't believe that Jesus rose from the dead, and I don't believe you do either. Do you?
Do I believe that Jesus rose from the dead? I mean, you're really putting me on the spot. I would like to believe he did. Yes, I mentioned the resurrection.
So I think we kind of talked about this before, but that's a perfectly fine answer. I would like to believe,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Just start there, That's totally fine. And he says that's completely different. I don't understand that. I don't understand the pushback from an atheist perspective like him.
Some sort of weird
you think if
cultural
someone
game
actually believes it versus someone wanting to believe it and being a Christian.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but they're playing some weird cultural game where it's like, let's say acceptable things, Do you really believe this crazy stuff? Well, I want to believe it, with those fundamentalists, they're really horrible. It's like there's some sort of weird media cultural game that they're playing as well. And, whatever.
Well, let's see what they finish up with.
I think it's pretty well done.
By the way, just quickly, because I've been told we've got to stop. When my son was 2, we took him to church, and the priest said, "You can ask me anything." And he said that my 2-year-old son asked the priest, "Do you know Jesus to be true, or do you believe Jesus to be true?" And do you see what I mean? And he couldn't answer that question.
That's kind of the point. The only way you can know.
Okay, first
experience.
Off, do you really believe her 2-year-old said that to a priest?
I mean, those Brits, man, they're smart. I mean, they.
I don't know. That's like whatever. I think my kids are smart, but they weren't, having that conversation. I don't know. I don't know that I really. I mean, maybe he was 4.
I could see my son doing that. My 12-year-old, like he's.
Yeah, your 12-year-old.
He probably pulled that one out. Yeah, but
maybe
not when he was 2.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit contrived, the whole thing. And again, I think
you sound like a skeptic. You don't believe her? The evidence is there.
No, I don't. I don't actually. But anyway, it's kind of like whatever. And even if the kid said that, he would have been fed to him, So
yeah.
And the fact that a priest couldn't answer that makes me think badly of the priest as well.
Right. Well, because you would think that and this is, I don't know if we talked about it. We've talked about it before, but it's like through experience. It's like you're not going to know because of evidence or facts or reading something. You're going to know because you place your faith in something and then you try it out. Like you talked about before, it's like you're sitting in the chair. Like you have to do something, you know, that's part of working out your faith. Like go ahead and place your faith in it and then you'll get your evidence, you know? So that's probably all. There's only like a 30 seconds left.
I think the conversation is pretty well done at that point. I do think it's interesting that, you know, these guys are coming around to, you know, at least recognizing that, well, there is some value in this, you know, even though he just has to come back at the end of being like, it's all nonsense. You know, it's all silly, pernicious foolishness. But I do like those churches and the hymns. I'm on Team Christian when it comes to missionizing. So whatever. I hope to God somehow he sees through the stupidity before he dies.
Yeah. Well, this was fun. We'll have to do some more of these. But anything else you want to add to this before we close out?
No, I don't think there's anything else that could be said.
This one says it all. So anyways, I hope everyone enjoyed this.
Christian.
Do I? Yeah.
Richard Dawkins, Christian. Drop the cultural.
There you go. So I hope everyone enjoyed this. If you did, go ahead and like and subscribe, and, you know, listen to the podcast, share with a friend. And then when you're done, head over to thelandofthebible.com. We've got tons of stuff over there, lots of studies where we traveled around the Holy Land, Greece and Turkey. Really, really fun, good stuff. Bible study meets a travel show is what we call it. And you can get access to as much or as little as you would like. And we will see you next time.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, click like and subscribe. It really helps us. And if you really enjoyed it, go on over to our website, thelandofthebible.com, and become a supporter. It helps us generate more content and gives you access to our full library of video and Bible study content.